Let me tell you where I started. Born in Chicago to Isaac Newman and Fanny Newman, my parents. Fanny was 39 years old at the time, and Isaac, my father, was 40. That was considered very old in 1934, December 15th, 1934, when I was born. My mother was at a poker game. She loved to play poker on a Saturday when she got the labor pains, and she went to the hospital, and I popped out around 2 in the afternoon on December 15th. I had a very privileged life. My brother, Sidney Newman, was 20 years older than I was when I was born. My sister Bernice, who later became Bernice Schwartz after she married Harold Schwartz, was 16 when I was born. In my young life, I had a nanny. We didn't call them nannies in those days, but she was a caretaker from Czechoslovakia, hardly spoke any English, and lived in our house with the purpose of cleaning the house, being a housekeeper. But she was more than that. I was crawling around the house at 7 months old when she came to work for us. She stayed with us until I finished college, and I was the love of her life. And my love for her is as great as it is for my parents. She was a beautiful person who gave me a great deal of love and became a teacher to me, and I to her. I taught her English, and she taught me things in math using dice. I traveled a lot with my parents and spent a lot of my winters in Miami Beach because my father had emphysema from his early years of very heavy cigarette smoking, then cigar smoking, which he gave up eventually, but by that time the damage to his lungs had been done. I loved Florida so much, and from a young age, when I was just in elementary school in Miami Beach, I decided I wanted to live my life in Florida. And those thoughts and aspirations never left me, and that's why when I was engaged to Myrna, I asked her if she could live in Florida with me, and she said wholeheartedly yes. So soon after our marriage, we moved to Florida. I have had a beautiful life. My mother had gray hair, and sometimes she would be mistaken for my grandmother in elementary school by my teachers. I kind of shied away from that. I wasn't too happy with that. But now I look back on it and see it as a blessing. When I was 5 years old, my mother registered me at Peterson Elementary School in Chicago. And right behind me was a young little boy, 5 years old, named Clark Feldman, and his mother. The mother started talking, and Clark, otherwise known as Buddy Feldman, became my best friend from that moment to this very day. He is the same age as I. He lives in Highland Park, Illinois, just outside Chicago. We speak to each other several times each week, and we celebrate wonderful occasions with each other. Another friend joined us when we were in the 4th grade, having transferred to Peterson. His name is Stuart Edelstein, and he is the third of the three of us who grew up together. Stuart went to law school with me at Northwestern University, and we have been good friends, Stuart, Buddy, and I. And we still are to this very day.
Wow. You guys have been friends for a long time.
Yes, I do, and they are close friends. And that's part of what I tried to say a little earlier, that having relationships where people really care about each other, love each other, is a great, great blessing, because I don't think that we were meant to be alone. So I encourage all of my future grandchildren to have friends
Mm-hmm.
and to create beautiful relationships with people,
Mm-hmm.
and to be comforting to others who will be comforting to you when you need it.
Mm-hmm.
That's a beautiful part of life. As for my teaching days, I can tell you that I taught a course in death and dying because I had done a lot of research in that field, which for some unknown reason fascinated me. And the more I learned about it, the more I realized that if you study death and dying, you know more about life and living. The course became the most successful course ever taught at Rollins. I taught it every semester, and there were wait lists all the time. I also taught Great Trials of the Century and Communication Ethics, a few other courses. I'm very proud of my teaching, have many teaching awards, and they're presently hanging in my study here in our house, and I'm very pleased with that work.
What are some of your most notable accomplishments?
Where?
What are some of your most notable accomplishments that stand out?
I have published some chapters in some books on the subject of euthanasia, physician-assisted suicide, terminally ill people, palliative care, which is just catching on now, but I've talked about for maybe 30 or 40 years of my life. I feel that people have the right to have their lives taken painlessly by their doctors, especially when they're terminally ill or in irreversible pain. And I'm an advocate for that and hope that by the time this video is shown, that will be the law of the land. Myrna and I traveled to the Netherlands and to Switzerland. In each place we lived for 6 months during my sabbaticals from Rollins, and I researched, watched people in Bettel Hospital in Delft, the Netherlands. I watched 27 people put to death. I interviewed them before they were put to death by their physicians, asked them why they had elected that, talked to their ministers, their priests, their clergy, talked to their families. I wanted to know what goes into making such a grave decision. And I published it. I've also am proud of the many articles I've published, mainly on that subject. I'm proud of having lectured at Cambridge University in England and Oxford University in England on that very subject. And I've won probably every award that Rollins, almost every award that Rollins offers. My students have elected me time and time again as outstanding professor, and I've won awards of academic stature, and I'm proud of those.
All right. Thank you.